What's the haps on the hops? Got yeast, that's beast. This the Molten Hour where we talk about our drink and tell you what we think every other week. And if we get drunk, well, we might slur our speech. Got the gift of gab, the friends you wish you had. Join us for a drink, join us for a laugh. Time is never wasted, where you getting wasted. The Molten Hour here, people take your places. People take your places. People take your home.
Welcome to the Malting Hour. I am one of the hosts, Tony Golick. Just wanted to give everybody a heads up that this interview that we did was in a live and active brewery. We're in Holzlager Brewing in Woodstock, Illinois. While recording, you will hear a lot of white noise, background noise, things turning on, things turning off, some people talking in the background because they were open. It was time for people to come get some beer. So if anything, it's like you're there with us. But I did want to give you guys the heads up. It's a super cool place, and we hope you guys make your way out to Woodstock, Illinois. On to the show. Welcome to another episode of the Malting Hour. I am Tony Golick, joined always with
Brandon Winninger.
Brandon, you have brought us to Woodstock, Illinois, and why don't you tell a little bit about why we're here?
Yeah, so we came out to visit the guys at Holzlager. I'm saying it right?
You are.
That was good. It's much better than I was saying it.
Emphasis on the syllables. Gotta make sure I do that. So Holzlager Brewing, they opened up in September of 2019. The reason I became aware of them is one of the guys involved, Chuck, his wife and I used to actually work together, and we are still friends on Facebook, and I saw her started posting about a brewery, and I'm like, what are you doing posting about beer? And then so I saw this, and I was like, all right, if I ever get out to Woodstock, this is where I'm going to go. And
you've made it to Woodstock.
Well, yeah. I mean, and I've been here. I've obviously been to Woodstock before, but this is actually the first time I think I've come with a destination in mind. And so, yeah, you guys got this awesome brewery out here. I think the point is really just to talk about, I mean, I know we talked about this kind of like before we started recording, but kind of get in the background and how you guys got into this and like what your future goals are and all of that kind of good stuff.
First, obviously.
And talk about the beer.
Yeah. And introduce yourself.
Yeah,
so we'll go ahead and...
I'm Chuck Moran.
Mario Cortez.
We're two of the founding owners. Our other founding partner is currently moving stools out to the beer garden. That's Travis.
Oh yeah, just so everybody knows, as you're listening, we are sitting in the brewery, which, by the way, today is really, I guess it was the first day of Phase 4, but a lot of places I know.
Today the weather is nice, so
yeah.
Hopefully we get a really good approximation for what the summer might hold for us.
Yeah, but we are in a brewery, so if, there's going to be a lot of background noise because they're getting ready to start the day here. So, sorry, go ahead.
No worries, but so Mario, Travis, and I actually all used to work together for the same company in Crystal Lake. And Mario and I have known each other for going on 20 years or so. I've lost count. And so we started working together in 2016 and quickly, found Travis as a friend, found out he brewed his own beer. He gave us some beer to taste. We liked his beer. And then I think Mario one fall evening in 2017 was at an Oktoberfest event at Noon Whistle. And after leaving there, kind of called Travis and said, hey, let's start a brewery. And that's kind of how it started, right? A couple weeks after that.
Isn't that how it always starts?
Have a couple
literally,
of
the conversation.
You got a drunk friend
like,
from a beer fest and be like, let's do this, man.
Yeah. Literally the conversation with something like, hey, Travis, you want to open a brewery? He's like, hell yeah. That was it. That's just snowball from there.
Yeah, so a couple weeks after that, they asked me if I was interested in participating. And so ever since then, the three of us have been working on bringing this to life. It starts with planning. At least if you want to try to be successful, it starts with planning. So I mean, we came up with a business plan. We're trying to attract investors, raise capital, our own included. And over the course of about 18 months to 2 years, we worked through all these steps. We got the funding necessary. We rented this wonderful space here in Woodstock. And by September last year, we were serving beer. When we opened, we only had 3 or 4 beers available, and now we've got 13 taps full.
Oh.
And everything's a little bit different, right? It's not we just have adjunct versions of the same 2 beers. There's different styles. We got Pilsners, we've got Kolsch, we've got IPAs, porters, stouts.
Black IPAs.
Yeah, black IPA.
Which is phenomenal, by the way.
Yeah, that looks. Yeah, and the name of it was Trojan Unicorn.
Trojan Unicorn, yeah.
Yeah,
and that's the first beer that we brewed in the brew house here when we were cleared by the health department to actually start making beer. That's kind of our flagship beer.
It's kind of cool that you guys chose a black IPA as like your flagship.
Yeah.
Beer.
Well, that was
kind of risky.
And that was the last beer that Travis made on his home system before we started really getting into the thick of everything, right? And we all decided right then, like, this is a really good beer. I don't care how obscure the style is.
Yeah.
This is a really good beer. Let's make it. And for that reason, that's kind of, we
it's solid.
decided to lean into it.
There's only one other black IPA that I ever got that I really liked, and I can't even remember the name of it now. But it's the New Glarus black IPA.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Wait,
Black Top or something like I
I
forget.
thought there was a lager. I'm thinking of
No,
Rhodes
they do have a
slushies,
black
sorry.
IPA though.
Yeah.
Or they did at one point. I don't remember necessarily. Because I remember having that. That was like the first time I had one that I really liked. I'm like, this is a pretty sweet stout. Like if you can get it done right.
Yeah.
This, like, I could drink this. Like we did an episode earlier this week talking kind of about summer beers, and I'm like, this I would throw. I don't even though it's kind of
It's 12
borderline like the porter
Yeah.
type
Yeah.
style, but man, like this is totally drinkable. Like
Now I'm gonna have one before I leave. But what I went for was the raspberry pilsner. And when Brandon was telling me, we were coming out here, of course the first thing I did was, what do they have on tap?
Yeah.
And I read a little bit up, and this beer is the one that stood out the most. Because lately I've been wanting to drink lighter beers.
Yeah, silver beer, right?
Yeah, and then but during the whole pandemic and being at home, I found myself going through like all my heavy stouts that I had sitting around. I'm stouted out.
guilty.
Yeah. Too many times. So a beer like this, but this as we were talking before we were recording, but it's the what's the name of this one? Sorry,
We call that Melina.
Melina.
So that's
Like for Mortal Kombat.
No, Melina is a Polish or Czech word for raspberry.
I'm learning a lot about different languages.
Yeah,
just
so
being
that's one
in
of the
this
things that
brewery.
we've done is, we look for unique ways to say something very simple, right?
Yeah.
Like even the name of the brewery, Holzlager Brewing Company. The word Holzlager is something that we kind of combined German words to. Holz means wood, Lager means to store, to stock. Together that means Woodstock.
It's very clever. It blew my reaction now is a lot less because I already knew it. But
Yeah.
I think that's a really clever name.
Yeah, and the longer story is, and you'll see some of the photos. Unfortunately, our listeners can't see, but the photo on the left here that you can see is the old Woodstock Brewing and Bottling Company
Oh, wow.
that
Sweet.
burnt down in like 1912.
Oh wow.
And so our initial idea was to try and revive that brand. Turns out that a distillery in like New Zealand owns the trademark for Woodstock.
Yeah.
And it's
figure.
like you can petition, you can use
Yeah.
lawyers and say, hey, we'd like to use this name, we're not competing with you, and it's a crapshoot.
Right.
So we just found a workaround.
Oh, yeah. It's a clever and great workaround.
No, I think and it makes it more unique. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
The story, because I honestly did not put that together, and then when I heard that story, I'm like, well, damn, that fits.
Yeah.
Like, it's a great way to kind of like tie all of that together.
Yeah, we wanted to still, make us part of Woodstock, right?
Yeah.
That's one of the things that we wanted to really to bring in, right? We wanted to be Woodstock's home brewery.
yeah.
You know?
So when you guys were looking for, like, you had this conceptual idea in 2017, started your business plan. Was Woodstock always the location that you guys wanted to open in, or were you kind of open to just anything at the point?
So we looked around a little bit. I mean, it does help that, Travis, who was, starting, he was our starting brewer, right? He still does some brewing. We have a full-time brewer now. He lives a quarter mile from here.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, nice.
So that helps.
That works. Yeah.
Right? We did look at other we contemplated other towns, other cities, but at the time there was not a single brewery here. Other than Crystal Lake and Scorched Earth, right? Sohop wasn't open yet.
More just open.
More wasn't
end of
open
February,
yet.
yeah.
Shadowview here in town wasn't open.
Yeah.
The Kishwaukee Brewing Company, they're starting to build.
Yeah.
They're building now.
Oh, wow.
Oh, nice.
We'll see when they
Yeah,
open.
when we started planning this, there were no breweries in Woodstock. There were only a couple in McHenry County. And by September when we opened, Sohop was open in Huntley, Shadowview's open on 14 here in Woodstock, and it's kind of blossoming.
And that's not a bad thing because and I look at like Moore as kind of a prime example. Like they have a huge following at their
Yeah.
Villa Park location, having an outlet out here is going to bring more people that don't want to deal with Villa Park here.
Yep.
But then also, all right, what else is in the area?
Yeah.
And then you'll find out that all these other great breweries are out here.
Well, and that's how most of us, like, when we go somewhere, whether it's, reasonably close or, other side of the country, like, I'm not, like, where's the nearest brewery?
Yeah.
Right?
My wife loves that. That's what I do every
Right,
time.
like, that's...
Well, if we're going to this part of the city, there's at least 3 more breweries, and that's exactly what I was thinking.
Exactly.
It makes this more of a destination.
I didn't get this travel body from eating lunch. Like, I was traveling around the country, and I'm hitting every brewery I found.
And that's the other thing about craft beer in general. The industry is very communal, community-based, right? We're supportive of one another. Sure, we might, there might be competition here and there,
right.
But we all generally agree that we're all more successful and stronger when everybody succeeds, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So having other breweries in the area to bring people out from the city, like you guys, or from Iowa or Rockford or whatever, just having a reason for people to come this area is better for everybody.
Yeah, and you have people coming out to, stop here to have a beer, go to the next place to have a beer. It does make it like a little adventure every time you go out.
Yeah,
you come out to Woodstock.
We're so close to Wisconsin. I mean, we get a lot of visitors from Wisconsin, and they could essentially just go down 47, 20 minutes down, and they could hit up 2-3 other breweries.
I was driving from here to my in-laws' house. They live in Algonquin, and starting here, I can hit 2 other breweries between here and my in-laws' house. So
when we were driving up here, I was looking up because he had mentioned Moore. He goes, I think Moore's out here, and I was like, we should look and see if there's other places too. We're gonna head back as soon as we're done, but stop maybe grab one. Maybe just one quick stop before we go back home. I don't have much going on today, do you?
I do, actually.
Oh, crap.
That's why I drove.
I'm controlling this ship.
After, I have to make sure that my wife was like, there's an Antioch pizza right there. Can you bring pizza home? I'm like,
Yeah, Antioch pizza's delicious.
It might not make the trip back.
So my quick story is my family has a house in Antioch.
Okay.
And they go to Antioch Pizza all the time. A couple weeks ago, I was out there, and my sister tells me that she brings it back to the city all the time. I'm like, what? So I did it, brought it home. I'm like, man, it's still awesome pizza. So my wife's like, it worked that time, it's going to work this time. So, all right, I'll order some pizza on the way back.
Boom, lawyer.
So do you guys have, you two specifically, what's your background in brewing or in beer or anything as far as beers related?
So beer related, I started out as a consumer, right?
Mm-hmm.
As I'm sure we probably all can share a similar experience, right? And it starts in high school and then into college.
High school, what?
Yeah, beer. My dad left a beer.
Weird.
But it went from cheap beer to I remember being like a senior in college and we're buying MGD and thought, oh, finally we're drinking good beer. And then you get out of college and you see this whole new spectrum of beer that really isn't accessible necessarily or affordable to college students especially. Right. And it kind of just steamrolled from there. One of the first craft beers that I remember having is Sierra Nevada's Pale Ale.
Nice. It's
and
a good place to start.
I remember my first impression of this beer and just being like blown away by the hops, right? And now I drink a Sierra Nevada Pale Ale and I don't want a whole lot of hop flavor, right? Like it's not overpowering now.
Yeah.
It's just sort of that relativity of where you're coming from versus where you've been.
Right.
And so it's just for me, it's kind of grown from there. It started with just really liking craft beer. I've brewed unsuccessfully at best myself. Like you're a home brewer, you understand what it takes to get a quality batch. And I'm the kind of guy where like I'm a perfectionist.
I got scars, man. I got scars.
Yeah, I'm a perfectionist, so if I'm going to start a hobby, I'm going to master it. And so I chose not to master brewing.
Yeah, it can be tough to be a perfectionist.
Well, you start having kids and your time demands
to
kind of change. And then, kind of fast forward to 2016, and I'm already, I drink pretty exclusively craft beer, and start hanging out with Travis, and then here we are. Now I know a whole lot more about the beer making process. I'm certainly not a brewer by any stretch of the imagination, but I can talk with intelligence about how we do it and what we do and all that good stuff.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. For myself, I was a home brewer. Certainly not to the extent of Travis, right? But yeah, I've had several batches, quite successful by I add, actually. But it's just one of those things where it's just it's a whole day thing. You got to plan for it and all of that.
Whether
right?
you're
It
brewing
just-
7 barrels, 100 barrels, or 1 barrel,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
the same amount of time, more or less.
Right.
Right.
Basically, my brother-in-law's argument of, well, I'm like, well, let's do a small batch, like let's do a gallon batch to test it out. He goes, why? Just to take the same
5.
amount of time. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I know, but if it sucks, we only have 1 gallon.
yeah.
Those are the trade-offs, right?
right. So for me, it was, I mean, I kind of jumped into the deep end of it. I did the same perspective, some experience as Chuck, as far as, college and, drinking the low-end beers and all of that, right? But
Whatever we could all afford at the time.
exactly. And then, graduated from school, started, kind of getting more into the good things in life, let's say, right?
Yeah.
And because I had a little money that I could spend on certain things now.
Right.
But yeah, so like I kind of jumped into the deep end, and some of the first, what I would say, craft beers were Trappist that I
wow.
tried. So I was, I went right into it
I was
like,
gonna say,
this
you went
is
big.
13%. What does this taste like? And, so that's kind of how I started, and just kind of developed from there. And like pretty much drink nothing but craft beer now. Every once in a while, I have some domestics.
Yeah.
But
When we were building this place last summer, we drank a lot of Rolling Rock.
I was going to ask
Oh,
what
yeah.
if
Dude,
you
I was
guys...
gonna like literally that was at the top of my head because I remember like sitting at your place or like my whatever when we were like in high school.
Oh, yeah.
When we didn't drink in high school, we drank Rolling Rock. Like
Because it was the closest thing to not drinking.
Yeah.
'Cause it is. It's. I don't remember the last
Goes
time I had a
down
Rolling
easy.
Rock, but yeah, it's super.
well, I also think that's the only thing people are willing to buy us. Like,
we'll
get you
some
Rolling Rock.
Yeah.
That's cheap.
I was going to ask, before you guys said that, what if as far as like domestic beers go, which I think it's funny that those
It's a
like
different
big,
category?
that it's called domestic, but craft beer is also domestic. But I think it's just that general idea.
Yeah.
It's easier to do. But if you guys had to go to domestic, is it Rolling Rock or is it something else?
If I'm out somewhere and maybe like the beer menu isn't extensive or whatever, I will drink a PBR because it's exactly what you're gonna get.
Sure.
And it won a blue ribbon, so.
Right.
But
It is a winner.
it is a winner.
All them years ago.
It's a great beer for the price point too, right? Like I can nurse a pint of or a tall boy of PBR and
Say
be
pint.
perfectly happy.
Tallboy is probably more often than not.
yeah, and I was raised Anheuser-Busch.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
it's Bud Light, Budweiser, that's, I'm Mexican myself, Mexican heritage, right? So usually when I'm drinking those domestics, and what I would call now domestics as well, because Mexican beers, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's, going to my parents' house, and, my dad always has Modelos,
Right.
and Modelo Negra and stuff like that, right? And
love Modelo
Pacificos.
Negra.
I know. So do I.
So
Actually,
those are
that's
the-
one of the ones I want to brew.
Those are the beers that I typically kind of lean towards when I'm not drinking craft.
Sure.
Yeah.
And mine has been High Life from day one.
Yeah.
It's just never, like, when I was in a band, it was easy to just get a 30-pack.
Yeah, 30 rack of High Lifes.
We'd finish half of it during the practice, finish the other half after.
For sure.
It's really easy. What was yours? Isn't it, because when we did the Old Man Beer episode,
I don't know. Now I think it's changing. Like, and the only reason it is Bud Light is just because that's what somebody brought over on Christmas Eve, and that's what I still
Still there.
I'm down to like my last can. I had a friend that came and cleared me out not that long ago. But yeah, I mean, growing up, I just remember my dad always drinking Miller Lite. Like
Yeah.
that's just
My dad drinks Strohs.
wow.
Oh, I think we talked about
Yeah.
that in the old.
I think that's one of the ones that we went on the second.
But yeah, I mean,
part of that.
I'm not opposed to Miller Lite, but I like Bud Light, and like my brother-in-law drinks Coors Light a lot.
Yeah.
So like if I'm meeting with family, like I'm usually the one that'll bring a craft beer. Now my brother, he's hardcore. Like he thinks he was born in Germany. Like he speaks German now. Like he has like everywhere he goes, it's like any type of Paulina or whatever, like anything that's like German, he's bringing it, and then he's got a keg of German beer on tap all the time. Like whatever, he's crazy. But it's like I'll bring, sometimes I'll bring like Everyday Hero or like something, like a light hoppy beer because people, I drink it and I don't care about anyone else. And then like my brother-in-law will bring a bunch of Coors, and I'm like, you know what? I think I'd just rather have a Coors. Like,
Yeah.
Sometimes those are the
Yeah. So I'm I'm domestic flexible, I guess.
Yeah, it's situational, right? Like if you're hanging out at a backyard barbecue and you're going to be drinking all day, I don't want to throw back 7.5% IPAs all day.
Yeah,
I'd be sweating, orange juice.
I was trying to explain the session IPA, or we had a conversation about the whole session IPA about, I think that was the last episode that we did. That was because we talked about summer beers, how, I know people who don't like session IPAs, and even when I saw it, I'm like, why the hell would I want to drink that? And, when you realize you're drinking when you're out in the yard and, you're just discovering craft beer, and say you've got, the 7% IPA and it's hot as hell, and all of a sudden you're like, I've had 2, I feel full.
I'm a little woozy.
And a little, I got more than a little buzz going on.
Yeah.
So with, phase, we said, phase 4 rolling in, you guys now, so you open up in September. So when did you guys have to kind of cease being open? When Illinois all went to?
Yeah, I mean,
down?
It was just like everybody else. It was whatever.
It feels like it was so
March
long ago.
17th.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Excuse me. So
St. Patrick's Day.
Oh,
yeah, and we had green beer ready.
Oh my God.
Oh, great! This is going nowhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, so March 17th, just like everybody else, when the governor's mandates came out, we fell in line like anybody.
Yeah.
And we quickly pivoted to doing to-go sales. We already had our crowler machine. So we started, when we get that, like October, November last year. So we were already doing the 32-ounce crowlers. And so when everything shut down, we're like, okay, well, we can't have anybody in here. Let's pivot. So we started filling a lot of crowlers. We sold some crowlers to local liquor stores.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then we quickly moved into getting the 16-ounce cans going. So we bought the fillers, the seamer for that, a bunch of other infrastructure, labeling, and it's all still a manual by hand process, right? Like one of our employees will sit for a couple hours and just label cans and turn out 10, 20 cases, and then we'll fill it, and then we'll seam it, and then we'll store it. And we'll just do that and keep up with demand and not overflow stock and all that good stuff.
It's kind of almost in the best way possible, like forced you guys to kind of have to accelerate where you guys were, I'm assuming planning on going at some point of labeling, having your own cans and doing the crowlers and being able to do that all. Not being able to do it all, but almost having to do it all.
The business as we planned it was, we wanted to be a commercial brewery with a tap room, not a tap room that also sells beer out the back door. So our business plan is around serving most of the beer out the back door.
Right.
And for the first few months leading up to the shutdown, we were doing a lot more business out the front door. We were building accounts with local bars and restaurants and selling them 6-dolls and half barrels. And then obviously that dries up when nobody has
no one's drinking.
Yeah, you don't have a chance to do it.
So we just pivot into the cans and we start focusing on the liquor stores and even some of the places that are selling, to go out, the restaurants do to-go stuff. And it's forced us to do things that we were planning, just, it shifts your priority.
Yeah. So if everything, I'm assuming, like you said, you had green beer on tap ready to go for St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah.
As now that we're basically reopening and hopefully we stay the course for how well that we've done this entire time with our numbers being down.
Rock star, apparently.
Yeah, we're pretty great, and I'm only hoping for the best. Definitely. Is there stuff you guys planning anything just yet, or you're holding off just in case?
In terms of beers, or
as far as any events or anything, and then as far as beers,
I mean, so typically this would be peak fest season, right? Like we would have been trying to get ourselves into local and even surrounding area beer fests. We do charity events, anything to get exposure.
Sure.
So that's obviously kind of off the shelf right now. One of the things that we're kind of looking at is a 1-year anniversary party or festival.
Okay.
Obviously, we want to make sure that we understand what we're going to be able to do, right? So certainly having this outdoor space that we've got here is helpful towards that. Our building owner has been really supportive. If we tell them and, obviously get the buy-in from our fellow business owners in the building here, and set up tents in the parking lot. Everybody's on board. If it brings more people to this little plaza here, everybody wins.
Pizza and beer. What else do you want?
And in a couple weeks, the taco joint is going to move across the street. Fast Tacos will be here.
Pizza, beer, and tacos. What else do you want?
I'll be in heaven.
Yeah, Taco Tuesday.
And with a Mexican lager once it's on tap again.
They're very popular in town, so that's definitely going to be fairly fairly good amount of foot traffic.
Yeah.
I mean, the biggest thing we got going on right now is, you know, as we're moving into this, probably for the first time, virtual Great American Beer Festival.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
yeah.
just saw
You
that
know,
that's happening.
So
you guys
we're
submit beers to
we're
that?
We're submitting 2 beers to that.
Awesome.
We did submit beers for the World Beer Cup, but you know that all got canceled.
That all got turned into hand sanitizer.
Yeah, all that beer got turned into hand sanitizer.
That
so,
sucks, man.
Better than nothing.
Yeah.
I was gonna say,
At least it's useful.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
you
at
know?
least it turned something like that.
Yeah, I mean everybody got a refund on
Yeah.
their fees and all that stuff, but I mean, would have still liked if it got judged.
Yeah.
Right. We've
Like
done-
some feedback, please.
Yeah, right.
Or
We've got a
medals,
lot
give me a medal.
We've got a lot of good feedback locally, so it would have been nice, you know, to hear something from the guys that that
Right.
really know, right? That really,
Yeah.
you know, what they're talking about. That, you know,
What
that's-
beers are you guys submitting for?
So we're submitting the Clown Hammer American IPA, and we're submitting the El Jefe Negro Lager.
Awesome.
So both of those beers have been very well received. They're fairly popular. I mean, El Jefe, we made a 7-barrel batch of it, and we pretty much sold it in 4 weeks.
Wow.
You know, I think we have like 2 cases left of it, and the only reason we have those 2 cases is because we kind of held off on selling any more cases to our accounts because we don't have any more draft.
Yeah.
We're still, you know, if somebody wants El Jefe, you get 16 ounces of it because we'll
Yeah, we're
crack
opening
open
up
a
one of the
can and
cans.
serve it to you. You know, so.
Running
And
out of
yeah, like, so, but it's, you know, we got a big double batch of that, you know, fermenting now, and actually should be done tomorrow or
Yeah, this week.
This Monday, Tuesday.
Cool. Just in time for the 4th of July.
Right. So we're also working with a, you know, kind of, we want to try to push. There's a big Latino Mexican community here in Woodstock, and that's something that, you know, especially myself as being a minority owner, like it's something that I really kind of want to go into and trying to, you know, get. We want to be a brewery that can, you know, provide beers to the masses, right? Not just one particular type of drinker, right? So we see that as, you know, as a community that we could certainly serve to. And our goal was to try to build a series of Mexican-style beers
Awesome.
that, you know, that maybe that community would really like. And I mean, right now the El Jefe was very well received. Like I said, we
not
got
a bad
rid of it
thing.
so quickly. So we got a couple ideas and some other things that we're doing. We also,
I think it's a really cool idea.
yeah, we're also collaborating with a local business owner who's trying to get his company started. And I don't know if you guys ever heard of like a michelada mix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
My friend Ian introduced it to me
Yeah,
one time.
it's
and
kinda-
originally I was against it. I'm like, this looks kind
It seems kinda silly.
Because I think about like a Bloody Mary, you know,
Right,
Like, and
right.
I'm like that. I don't like Bloody Marys, but then he made it for me, and I was like, this is
really
fucking
good.
delicious.
Right.
And he left me
Right.
a mix for
and
me.
it's not one of those things that you know that you'll have all the time.
Right.
But you know, it's like it's a nice brunch type thing or like
Sunday morning.
yeah, you know,
It's like the Mexican version of a Radler, right?
Right.
Like the Germans pour Coke into their beer.
That's hilarious.
Mexicans make Bloody Mary beers.
Yeah, right. So we're collaborating on that, and we're 4th of July weekend. That Sunday, we're gonna do like we're looking to work something up and do like a essentially like a michelada bar,
Cool.
and you know primarily because El Jefe will be ready, and that we already tested it, and it's phenomenal with it. It goes well, and we want to have a couple. You know, we got to do a tasting and get a couple other beers that'll mesh well with that.
We should have came out
And,
next weekend.
You can come back.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it now. At this point,
Yeah.
that all sounds awesome.
Yeah, so the guys that we're collaborating is El Tri Chelada. That's the name of the brand.
Okay.
And so they're coming out essentially next weekend, Sunday, and we're gonna have we're working the details on now. We're gonna do it outdoors or in here or what, but we're gonna be offering that. We might open a little earlier to kind of do like a brunch
Cool.
type
go,
of
yeah.
thing. But yeah, it's something that again, you're trying to capture that consumer profile right from the Latino side.
Yeah.
I think this would be another way for us to kind of get involved with that and kind of, just provide something that they could be, happy about and enjoy.
Yeah,
Just
feel,
like everybody
take pride in
else.
as well,
I was
right?
gonna say,
It's
yeah,
part of their
pride in the
community.
Yeah.
And we're not, I mean, our one of our principal owners is Mexican himself. This isn't just lip service, right? Like this is intentional on our part.
Yeah, that's awesome. One of the things I noticed, or that I was reading last night, as I was prepping for today, sitting by the fire, drinking. I'm like, I should read up
with
more.
your corn cob pipe.
Exactly. It was very sophisticated after those stories. I noticed that I was reading about what you guys try to get locally sourced ingredients, as close as possible, and whatever you guys can't get, also you're still finding a way to either get something from the community and to give to the community and support back and forth.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's exactly like you're saying, it's not just lip service.
Depending on the recipe, the ingredients you need, kind of determines how local you can be, right?
Right.
But one of our beers on tap, the Lucas Road, we have a couple of versions. It's all made with 100% Woodstock grown hops. There's a local farm in town they grow Cascade.
On Lucas Road.
Clever.
And last year we bought his entire crop and made the initial version. It was 100% wet hopped. So fresh.
Nice.
Yeah, they literally harvested in the morning, hauled it over to us, and we brewed that afternoon. So that was the
first Lucas
so that was the Lucas
About
Road.
as fresh as you can get.
Yeah.
Right. So that was the Lucas Road, and then we're still getting hops from them, but it's the pellet
Yeah,
version.
he's got pelletized.
So the pelletized version is the Lucas Road U-turn. And
I saw that because you turn around.
It's a U-turn.
I read the description.
It was so good. We have to come back around.
Yeah, that's great.
And then we have a barrel aged Lucas Road on bourbon barrels.
Oh, wow.
And that's the runaround. I'm sorry, the runabout. Yeah. So it's a runabout.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So
That's cool. So with the pandemic and everything, and you guys had to shut down March 17th, has that led you guys into brewing anything different or brewing more? I would possibly think, or less.
We took I'd say the first 2 or 3 weeks, and we had inventory, right? So we didn't know what was going to happen.
Try the IPA.
Sorry, we're taking beer orders.
Yeah.
Whatever you were drinking, I'll try that.
We can edit that back out. We can come back around to what we said.
What were we talking about?
Were you guys brewing more?
Yeah, so when everything shut down, we were under a mode of operation. We were stocked up for that, right? So we didn't really do anything for a couple of weeks. We wanted to see what was going to happen, and we started, like we talked about before, filling crowlers, getting into the canning, seeing what was going to move, how it was going to move too, right? Because it's not just people coming in to buy it from us. We're trying to sell it out the back door.
Right.
And so for 2 or 3 weeks, we kind of treaded water with what we had on hand, and we're selling what we had. And then we were fortunate to get a PPP loan, so we could bring staff back. So we could really decide or be more targeted with how we want to use those funds and use that to these larger goals, right? So we can build these account bases with liquor stores or whatever, and the Clown Hammer, for instance, is a super popular beer. It's probably a third of our throughput. So we have to brew a double batch of that, every other week or so.
Thanks,
So just trying to figure out what the demand is, right, and fitting in the beers that we need to keep around because people expect them versus getting stuff that's new or small batch like we saw in the cooler earlier.
Yeah.
And then trying to we've got a seltzer in fermentation right now, so we're gonna release a seltzer. I think we talked about a little bit the raspberry pilsner that you had. We've got an ale version coming, which tastes different. It's you can still get that raspberry, but you're not getting the same pilsner feel out of it. It's an ale yeast. It's got a different flavor profile, but really good. So we're trying to figure out how to work in new things, wanting to, like the Mexican series that Mario mentioned, expanding some of the IPAs, and then getting into other unique styles, right? Like we don't want to be one of those breweries that just go to them for milkshakes or go to them for sours and that's not a knock against anybody who does those things, right? Like you make good beer, I got respect for you, but we want to make good beer across the board, from one end of the spectrum to the other.
Yeah, so I noticed you guys do have like a line of barrels over there. What do you guys got going on in all of those?
So the ones you're pointing at, that's where we've got the Lucas Road. Over in the corner,
Well, so we had a Lucas Road, a Grisette,
Oh, the Grisette as well.
and also a Kolsch.
Oh, nice.
And those are all in bourbon barrels.
Yeah.
Wow. So bourbon barrel aged.
APA,
Yeah,
Kolsch,
Kolsch
and Grisette.
That's
So I'll
awesome.
say something.
Yeah.
And then we've got a Russian Imperial over there that's been in since January 4th. We're going to bring that out November, December.
Cool.
We'll do one or two adjuncts, some fruit additives. But that should probably be a 13-15% beer when it's all said and done.
What
That's
was the barrel aged beer that we did? What did that clock in at?
I don't even remember.
Like 10% or something?
Yeah, it was about 10%. It was the reason why I say I don't remember. It's
Because you can't.
we've had bad luck with barrels.
I think
as
that
homebrewers.
came out of fermentation at about 10%.
Okay. Yeah, that's
Not
what we
the
are.
first run of it though, because
No, the first run of it was really good.
Sorry, we're also we're in a homebrew group that we kind of have going. Like it's kind of defunct now. I don't know. Like we don't. I mean,
Who knows?
especially with all this, we don't meet. So we all, most of us kind of brew separately. But not was it 2018?
Yeah.
We entered into the Great Lakes Brew Fest.
Okay.
They have their homebrew island. So we got into that. That was the last year they were allowing people from Illinois. And we had done a barrel-aged stout that we had in a bourbon barrel that sat there for almost a year.
Yeah.
We brewed 15 gallons. Like we had 3 guys that brewed 15 gallons separately, or 5 gallons separately, and then we blended those all together. But all using the same recipe. We brought that up to the Great Lakes Beer Fest, and that was like our first beer to blow. And they have a voting system on there that like rates all the breweries, like home brewers against all the commercial
everybody.
ones. We won first place.
Yeah, we got-
Like
yeah,
I
it
was
was
like,
crazy.
how are these? Like we're a bunch of idiots that are just like screwing around with beers and like
Blended, the last.
like favorite brewery and favorite like beer.
Yeah, and the other thing is
But like
that-
we were the only ones like telling people to vote though too.
Yeah.
But there
It's
was
all politicking.
but
at
it was
a
kind of
certain
it was
point, right?
it was hilarious though because like there was other votes for other places, but I'm
Yeah.
like, how the hell did we end up? I mean, I guess it was just lip service, but
Hey man, it's
it was
how I
hilarious.
start.
Take it.
Yeah,
you
we
pin
did.
that medal on the wall and you move on.
We posted
Yeah,
on
so that
Facebook
was-
right
that
away.
was
Like,
like-
here we are, #1 baby.
That was our second experience with the barrel. Our first experience,
Oh.
we brewed 55 gallons.
Oh.
Put it in
And-
Knob Creek.
The person who was in charge of the barrel
Bob.
did not sanitize the barrel. He washed it out like in his kiddie pool with a garden hose, and then we just dumped the beer
So
in
he
there.
thought that he wanted to rinse it like that, instead of because it dried a little bit. But then again, none of us were in charge of anything else. We didn't know what the hell we were
You're
doing.
disavowing all responsibility.
Oh yeah, totally. I'm totally throwing that on Paul. But yeah, that unfortunately, it smelled delicious, but the pellicle that formed on top was just—it's like nail polish remover.
Yeah, we had one of our beer tenders brought in for one of our staff meetings pre-COVID. He brought in, he had some Goose Island bourbon barrel aged, and he had like 2015, 16, 17, and I guess 2015 had gone sour.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so we were doing like side-by-side taste tests, and like the 2015, like it wasn't bad. It wasn't what you expect.
Right.
Yep.
Right? It's something different now, but it's still like I'm not a big sour guy. I don't really like. I've had one sour that I would go back for, and that's from Flesk in Barrington.
Okay.
But
Shout out
other
to
than
them.
that, like
Isn't that Clint's cousin or something like that? Like, they
sours
have
aren't my
some
thing. But this, like, I mean, it probably helps that it's 15% alcohol. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
We actually one time 'cause we've done a whole show on the bourbon counties from Goose Island. Actually, a 2-part thing because it was such a. Anyways,
It was actually like a 3-part thing because we
Yeah.
had to re-record.
And
some
now here's
parts.
part 4.
here's part 4. Talking about it again. Goose Island, where's our check? We actually drank in 2015 that was at your condo.
Yeah.
We had your condo that had turned, but it wasn't bad. It was almost like there was like blackberry
Yeah.
added to it. So
Yeah.
it was like, but I know the coffee one that I had that had got infected was.
Yeah, like if somebody had
Dumped
told
it, we
me that
couldn't
it was
drink it.
intentional to be like that,
You
like
would've been like,
I
interesting.
would have been like, okay. I mean, I'd already got my money back for that bottle, so I didn't really care. And I had a few of them. I think we ended up drinking them all, but like we had talked in the past because we had another friend that had probably way too many of them. We had talked about like cooking with them and like turning into like barbecue sauce or
Yeah.
whatever.
Finding
like,
a use for it.
You know, I mean, there's definitely uses for bad beers, unless it's just a really bad beer.
Yeah.
Like my Hefeweizen, that's just a really
You're
it's a
2%
really-
Hefeweizen.
It's a really
Something
bad
went
beer.
wrong. He had
You made an accidental NA.
Yeah, pretty much. he had a big issue with it.
I told the story on our last episode, but
We can edit this out.
yeah. Well, anyways, my chiller broke. My chiller broke
Burst in two
right
places.
when I was like finished my boil. Was just at about 5 gallons. Threw it in there. Turned on the water. Actually, well, I had it in there. I had the chiller in there for like 10 minutes to get it like to temperature and then to sanitize it. As soon as I turned on the water, I was walking back and I looked and there was 10 gallons of water in my kettle. I was like, that's not right. And then I took it out 2 big holes in the copper. I was like,
Oh, it stinks.
so anyways, I tried to boil it. I boiled it down to like 7 gallons and I fermented it. And then I kegged it and tapped it. And at first, it's like, oh, this is really good. And then it just has this weird off flavor afterwards. I was like,
Yeah,
Okay.
it's
I mean, brewing is a gamble a lot of times, especially when you're doing new recipes or like when you have incidents that go awry. Like if there's no solid way to like clean up after that. Like,
I thought about that today because our local homebrew shop just opened up again.
Okay.
And I was like, maybe I might stop and get some grains to brew this weekend. Like, I've got all these hops in the freezer, and I was like, some of these hops, I mean, they're sealed, they're vacuum sealed. I'm like, I don't really want to run the risk. I felt like the last couple of beers that I did, I ran like, came out okay, but I kind of just want to get it as fresh as possible. So we'll see. But
I mean, it's when they're fresh, right? When they're not pelletized, it's a different story, right? When they're pelletized, it's a little bit. They got more shelf life.
right, exactly. And that's what I have.
So,
in the freezer.
that's the when you're home brewing, you're not using pellets typically, unless you're getting you're getting those
Little packets.
Yeah, the packets.
Yeah, which is what I end up with. I've only done the whole cone hop once, I think. That was one of the first beers that we did, and I hated it because of all the beer it soaked up and like everything was in there. I'm like, this
Yeah, that was
also a
big
Mr.
learning
Beer
experience for us too,
Yeah.
right? We make this wet hot beer, and the yield is not what we expect.
Right.
And everything gets bogged down, and
But you really do get an awesome flavor
for
and
sure.
aroma from it.
Yeah,
That's the
a
trade-off.
different. It's a lot fuller, a lot more. The flavor's a lot higher, right? You can you really get all of that, right? As
Yeah,
opposed
there's
to-
definitely a pro to using it. It's just even like as a home brewer, I'm like, I'm gonna lose all that beer. But at this point now, I've brewed so much beer that I have beer on tap that's been on tap for a long time. I was just telling him we have a Halloween party, and he and I will do like weird beers for it. Not weird. So like the first year we did beer with Count Chocula Stout, and he did Frankenberry, right?
Yeah.
Frankenberry Hefeweizen, a wheat beer. Those turned out good, but we also had to like add chocolate.
Yeah.
But last one we did was an Almond Joy that I added coconut extract to it, and it was a lot. There was a lot of lactose in it. Like for me, it was too much. I just dumped it 2 weeks ago. Like the rest of it that was in there. It wasn't like a whole lot, but it was good.
Still
like
hurts.
4 or 5 beers left. So.
I will correct myself a little bit. So, it does taste different. It does taste better, but you got to use the right amount.
Right, exactly.
Yes.
Because
It's
you
diff-
got to
it's
get
much
the
different.
concentrate. It's the flour, right? So it's
there is such thing as
the
too much.
volume. And,
Yeah.
it's supposed to pelletize. I'm saying.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah. With the pellets, I mean,
Yeah,
you
it's-
know.
Yeah, it's
what you're throwing in.
Yeah, the flavor is
more controlled.
Right. The
Right.
flowers can be bigger, smaller. It's
Yeah,
it's
and in the raw fresh product, you don't know what the concentrations are of those alpha acids and the other
Yeah, I mean, all of that
fragrances.
plays.
Yeah. So I have a quick question. What is it when you went to grab us more beers? What are we drinking right now?
So now we're drinking our double New England IPA,
Uh-huh.
Hilda of the East. So this is a very juicy, hazy style for sure. I mean, it's this is what I was drinking when we started,
Yeah.
and I told you I like oranges in the
Yeah, yeah.
morning.
This is it's funny because like I really like. Oh, I figured it was the hazy IPA. Obviously, it's got a beautiful color to it. Is there any adjuncts in this at all, or is it just
So there is cloudberry in it.
okay?
So we put cloudberry. It's got so you got all of the mango, pineapple, flavors.
This is
But we
delicious.
also have the cloudberry itself, which is a Nordic berry. That's what we also have in our Hildeweiss.
Okay.
Our
Yeah,
wheat
you
ale.
should try that as well.
Sure.
Yeah.
I
And so
demand
it's
it.
Okay, I will not say no.
We will.
it's a Nordic berry, grows at high altitude. It's more of a wider profile rather than most berries, which is a particular flavor. There's like our wheat ale. Some people have compared it to like Fruit Loops.
Yeah, I can see that. It was kind of, well, first off, it's a really good beer. The reason why I asked, because at first I was like, it kind of, my palate was like, this felt like almost like a creamsicle. You know, some of the milkshake IPAs where the vanilla goes in there. But now once you told me, not that I'm familiar with that berry, but as you were describing it, I'm like, that's what I'm actually tasting.
Fruit Loops. My first thought
this is awesome.
Yeah, when we made the Hildeweiss, that was the first beer we did with the Cloudberry. I tasted it, I'm like, Fruity Pebbles?
Yeah, this is.
So Fruit Loop, that kind of like sugary, fruity cereal.
I want to do something with that berry, man. Man, if you get that flavor, that is.
It's the only reason why we talk to anybody else. We're like, well, so what can we do now?
So once we open up our brewery, we got your recipes.
Never. Yeah. No, it is delicious. It's very good. I'm starting to feel like I had a clear idea of what I was going to take home with me today in growler form. Yeah, and it's fucked up. It's messed up. Like you guys have thrown me.
What are we rating this podcast?
Whatever you want.
Mature audiences only.
Always. Oh yeah,
it's also 7.6.
So be advised.
Hence the F-bomb flying out of my mouth so randomly.
Tony will go in and beep out every F-bomb.
There was just the one, thankfully.
That's how we get our PG-13 rating.
So I know we were talking about future beers. What is there anything else you guys have lined up that you're excited about for the summer, like being released, or anything in general? Like now that we're open.
I'm excited just to have people back, right? We're sitting here in the tap room now. We've got a Patrick's a regular. Hey, Patrick.
Hey, Patrick.
We've got some other folks. Mario. Both of our wives are here right now. My kids are sitting here, so it's great to just welcome the community back into the space. And then obviously with the beer garden, the nice weather, we're just looking forward to being a place to come in, hang out, drink good beer, grab some pizza from Antioch, grab some tacos from Fast Tacos. Bring snacks from home. We don't care. Just come have a good time.
Just come.
Yeah, just come.
What I'm looking forward to is, as we're putting more beer out into the market, just kind of getting more canned beer of the different styles. We're going to be releasing the final Pilsner. That's going to be coming out, in the next 3 or 4 weeks. We'll get that into the market. So just, kind of getting some of those to kind of give us a little bit more exposure, even if it's limited, just because of our number of accounts and such, right? And we're spreading from McHenry County outward, right? I live out in Palatine, so pretty much if you look at our map of accounts, things are kind of
jets out.
Going in that direction.
Hey, that's the right way to do it, though.
So
So
that's one of the things that I'm looking forward to. Just kind of getting a little bit more exposure with our beer, getting more of our cans out there, doing a few more can releases, and then getting our barrel aged stuff out, and hopefully getting some of that.
So you guys self-distributing right now, or?
Yeah, so we're a Class 1 brewer. So we self-distribute. We want to try to keep control of that as much as possible.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the best advices so far I've gotten from fellow brewers is like, just do it until it's the biggest pain in the butt for you.
Yeah.
Where you can't really, you just can't do it anymore. Then do that, because then you got to talk to a distributor and get into an agreement and all those things that come with that, right? But in the meantime, we're trying to self-distribute. We're trying to have some controlled growth, but at the same time, we're not going to decline any accounts. Right. Anybody that wants to have our beer, whether it's on tap or in cans, we'll be happy to get it to them.
So are you guys even looking into like the city as well, or like into Chicago? Or are you?
We may. I think one of the things that like every small brewery, like right now we're using our own vehicles to make some of these deliveries, right? So, like one of the biggest steps that the next big milestone that we're looking for is to get a vehicle that we can hire, have a delivery driver that we can have out there making those deliveries while we're selling the beer.
Yeah.
Having the guys, those of us that are out there trying to get our beer out there. Sure. But then that way we can have more of a focus on, okay, we we have people just dealing with the sales side, and then have somebody that could just go out and make those drop-offs
Yeah.
and just have those routes and be out there.
All the in-house heads to take care of that would be much better than dealing with the distributor.
Right.
And that's a way to grow. I mean, that's what Lake Effect in Chicago. That's what he does. He still. I used to work for him, Clint. I used to drive the van, deliver the beers, drop off kegs and stuff. And while I'm sure it's a pain, which kind of was, but for me, I liked it because I was driving around all day. But that was my job, and then I'd fill up bottles at the end of the day as well. But he's got more control over who he's doing the business with, and he doesn't have to worry about dealing with the distributor.
Right. I mean, Pipe Force does the same thing, right? You see,
Oh, yeah,
out there, and they deliver all over the place, right? So,
Yeah, they deliver everywhere.
right.
So, as far as business-wise goes, is there any future plans of, not so much distributing, like, the beers-wise, but, like, if the opportunity comes, expanding, like, let's say the place next door opens up, like, would you ever think of growing this physical location or moving it, or are you guys pretty set on just making this your home base?
So I think this will always be our original spot, and maybe depending on how things go. I mean, our 10-year business plan. If things were to work the way we want them to, we would try to begin thinking about,
Purpose-built building, larger brew house.
Right.
in the next, couple of 2-3 years or something like that, depending on how things go. We're certainly not opposed to, growing, whether it's another unit here in the building or, otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, not to say that when you guys took us through your facility, not to say that it's small, but from what you guys are putting out, what you have on tap, I mean, it's pretty impressive what you've done with what you have here. You know what I mean? Like that's
you've done a lot with the space you have.
yeah, which is awesome.
Yeah, so
There's places
Travis
that
and
have
I-
more space and do less.
Yeah, Travis and I, in 2018 or early 2019, I think it was. I mean, we visited a lot of breweries because that's one of the things that. So beyond our craft, whatever limited or extensive craft experience, right? The three of us are engineers. So we all come from a technical background, right? We kind of started this, and it was like exploring it's a feasibility study, right? Like,
Can this be done?
Can this be done? What would it take? And Travis and I visited a lot of breweries, and even here locally. I mean, again, it's very inclusive. So when we're in a brewery and planning, we could call up a brewery and say, "Hey guys, we're from so and so, and we would like to come in and check out your, check out how you guys are doing things and see all of that." And we did the same thing in California.
Oh wow, cool.
We went to California, checked things out there, and I mean, I know you're saying this is small. There's places we saw in California that were like half our space, maybe more so.
I'm just cranking.
And they were just cranking beer out, and I mean,
amazing.
they were like shoehorning in systems into little pockets with, fermenters within 2 inches of each other, things like that. I mean, and we're like, wow, we can make do with it, So that's one of the things that we try to look out for and trying to figure out, okay, what can we do with what we have? And I mean, if you can see, like our 15-barrel fermenters are actually custom made. They're not.
That's
they're
kind
not
of
like the typical
No.
size.
Yeah.
Because we had a
Yeah, I
height
was gonna say.
limitation, so we ended up getting them a little shorter. It broadened up the cone,
Yeah.
the angle on the cone, but we haven't had any issues with the angle.
That's awesome.
It's worked out pretty well. So, yeah, I mean, if the opportunity comes, we certainly want to do more. I mean, we do want to, eventually put a purpose-built building, hopefully still here in town, and just kind of go from there. Become a regional brewery. Maybe a national. I don't know. Who knows where the
Taking
where
over the
ceiling
world
is.
one beer at a time. Yeah.
Take over the world.
Well, this has been
A phone call from AB InBev, like, you want to sell?
this has been awesome, you guys. Thank you very much for
Thanks for coming out.
thanks, guys.
sitting down and talking with us. I'm sold. I've had 2 beers from you guys, and I'm sold. Not because this is 7.6, but no, this place is great. I think it's awesome what you guys are doing and what your whole how you guys came to be, and what your basically mission statement is for the community and everything. What you guys have in mind, providing everything for.
So to sum it up, just so everybody knows, where can they find you? What are your hours?
Smart.
Yeah, so
He's the
Holzlager
brains.
Brewing Company, Woodstock, Illinois. We're right on Route 47, just south of 120. So anybody that's going to and from Wisconsin out this far west is going to drive right past us. We're in select liquor stores in the area and expanding. We're in Rockford, all the way as far east as Palatine and
We
Arlington
heard.
Yeah,
Heights.
actually,
Yeah.
Our
We did,
farthest
yeah.
account east is actually in Highwood.
Oh, really?
Promiscuous.
Oh, wow.
And they,
yeah.
they have
I
us
think
on
that's a good
tap
place to
and
be.
cans.
It's a good place to be.
Yeah, but we're in all the Garfields, kind of along 14. So there's one in Crystal Lake,
to know.
Barrington, Palatine. We're in all of those. The building owner of the space that we lease here also owns a handful of liquor stores, so we're in his liquor stores.
Bonus.
Yeah, and we
You guys did everything right.
some things worked out really well. Like we got close on a couple of other spaces that didn't have the same building owner and didn't have
Yeah.
the terms and the grass space and all the other stuff
Yeah.
that's really come in handy. So everything's worked out for a reason, I think, and
Yeah.
we're trying to, as Mario said, just continue to expand. We want to do it organically, like start with the community here, build the community here, and then expand that demand, hopefully.
Yeah, and then I mean, at this point, I think that a lot of the other brewers will agree that the to-go motto is not going to go away anytime soon, if
I hope
ever.
not. I hope not. I
so-
think it's been awesome.
If you ever, if anybody's ever going to come through, they could order beer online.
Yeah, you can
from
go to
us.
www.getbeertogo.com. That goes straight to our online ordering site.
That is awesome.
That's my Brandon.
You can order a beer and we will have it ready for you at your leisure.
You know what we
Let's
really
find
should?
out.
You know what we should have done? We probably should have started the episode with, "Hey, where are we?" And then follow up that.
Hey, this is where you go back for the editing part. And
Oh, I won't do all that.
This is how you get people to listen all the way to the end to figure out where they need to go.
Smart.
Surprisingly enough, that domain was available, so we took
Yeah.
it. Believe it or not, I mean,
That's really smart. That is pretty smart.
And then food options, you guys, there's the pizza places here. You guys are open to people bringing stuff in.
Yeah, we welcome people, just like a lot of the breweries that you guys are probably familiar with as well, where we don't have a kitchen, we're not serving food, so please feel free to bring your own snacks. We're family-friendly, pet-friendly in the beer garden. We have a lot of great food options in the immediate area. We've got Your Sister's Tomato Pizza, we've got Antioch Pizza, we've got Fast Tacos. Sophie's Wine and Whiskey also makes some good pizza and sandwiches. And then if you just want something quick and easy here, we've got large Bavarian pretzels that will warm up. We'll give you some cheese and
That'll
some
get my
mustard.
wife to come out here. So
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah. And we've got Champion pizzas that we can throw in the oven for you.
Nice.
Right on.
So we want to make sure that everybody can hang out and enjoy our beer. Stay fed and have a great time out in Woodstock. Woodstock is an awesome town.
Yeah, it's people are not familiar with Woodstock. It's where
Groundhog Day was filmed.
right.
Yeah.
Also learned that recently.
We should go over there.
Go to the square. A lot of it looks exactly the same. They actually filmed a Jeep commercial.
Even the pothole?
Yeah. Ned Ryerson, speaking of, we released a beer around the Super Bowl, Ned Ryer Saison. It was a Saison.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so we tried to roll it into the Groundhog Day thing.
That's funny.
Yeah, and I want that beer again. Can we make that again?
Yeah, for those of you old enough, Dick Tracy was
Yeah, Dick
created in
Tracy.
Woodstock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Yeah. Woodstock has a lot of interesting history.
We're old
Orson
enough if that
Welles
says
lived
anything
here for a
about our
while.
age.
Yeah, just down the street here, there's a Dick Tracy Way. And if you guys ever have the opportunity
That's hilarious.
to go to the square, the historic Woodstock Square, that's where a lot of the Groundhog Day movie was filmed. But they have a little kind of back alley where there's this mural and it's got Dick Tracy and Groundhog Day and all the other.
Oh, that's cool.
I think Orson Welles lived here for a certain period in his childhood. There's a lot of weird,
He walks through the
interesting.
square.
Yeah.
He's ours.
Yeah.
I feel like we should just come here and make it. You got points with your hotel soon, right? Like,
Yeah,
we can
right.
go
And
stay out here
for-
sometime.
and for
We
people,
can get you a deal at the Best Western.
Count us in.
and even
any
for
Hiltons
people
out?
visiting from, say, the city. I mean, we're 5 blocks away from the metro station.
Yeah, it's a half mile from here to the
Oh,
metro
really?
station.
Yeah.
And they've got a bike share program as well that they opened up last. I don't know.
So I can rent a bike and ride it back to the city.
Yeah. Perfect. No, well, you can ride the bike over here
Yeah,
and
and then
then
take it back,
and get on
hop on
the
the train and head home. Well,
Smart.
Well, this has been awesome, guys. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
We
thank you guys
appreciate
for
it.
coming out. We appreciate it.
No, thanks for having us, and everybody listening. In surrounding areas of, if you're in Chicago and you listen to us, you know us. But anybody else, if you get a chance to come out to Woodstock, come here to Holzlager. Did I do it right?
You got it.
Hey,
You got it, man.
all right, baby. Yeah, it's awesome. It's a cool spot. And the two beers that I had, I'm having another beer before we go.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Okay, great. The two beers that I had so far are
We're
really
gonna go have one in the
enjoyable.
beer garden.
Well, now I'm gonna grab some growlers and stuff. I got so many things I'm buying here today. It's amazing. But
Way to
Brandon,
live
sorry,
the show.
Laura.
It's done for you.
Brandon, thank you for setting this up.
Of course, man.
As always, love you, buddy, and hope everybody's staying safe. And
And thank you to our guests.
yeah, thank
Yeah.
you guys.
Cheers, guys.
I'm already done with this
Ah,
one. too.
cheers.
We've got a problem.
Thanks again to Mario and Chuck for having us out at Holzlager Brewing in Woodstock. That was a great time. If you're interested in checking them out, you can find them online first at holzlagerbrewing.com. That's HOLZLAGER brewing.com. They're also on Facebook and Instagram. And if you're in the Illinois area or just want to find a new brewery, definitely go and check them out. They're at 150 South Eastwood Drive in Woodstock, Illinois. Brandon and I grabbed a couple crawlers. I bought a new glass because why do I need new glasses? I don't know. I got glasses. Cool place. Hope you guys enjoyed the show, and we'll see you next time.